Hi, and welcome to A Drummer's Guide to the podcast answering your questions about what it takes to be a professional musician, aside from the act of actually playing your instrument. My name is Emily Dolan Davis. I've been a drummer since 1999, professionally since 2008, and helping others to do the same since 2018, and that's why we're here today. So if you have a specific question you'd like to ask me for a future episode, you can go to emilydrums.com/AMA. You can ask your question there. Please give me as much detail as possible so that we can really get into the nitty-gritty, so that I can really help as best I can. Hopefully it will bring up stories for me, because I find that we all do often have very similar experiences with things that we struggle with. So at least you won't feel alone, hopefully. Fingers crossed. So that is what the person today has done. So this message was from an anonymous person. It's actually technically two anonymous people. Funnily enough, they gave me a name and I looked it up on Instagram to see if I could find their socials, and they don't exist. This means one of two things. They've either made up their name or the amalgamation of two of their names, which kudos, or they don't exist on social media, which I don't think is right, just judging by the question. But yeah, if not, get on that. So here's a question, and we'll get into it. So, hello, hope you're well. Thank you, Anonymous. I'm doing very well. Oh, before I start, apologies for the lack of episode last week. Lots of moving parts last week. So just juggling essentially 3 or 4 different things all at once, and just my energy levels and my time, it completely disappeared. I'm actually filming this at 23 minutes past 7 in the morning right now, because my schedule has shifted quite dramatically just with all the stuff that's going on with my degree. There's various other things I'm doing, and yes, so apologies. That was a what would you call that, a recalibration week for me personally. Sorry guys, but I'm back, so that's the main thing. Okay, so back to this question, the important bit. Apologies again, we move. Okay, hello, hope you're well. Big fan of the show, but first time writing in. Well, that's awesome. Thank you and welcome. My question is, what sort of content should I be posting if I'm not doing many gigs at the moment? Or perhaps if I'm in a situation where I'm not able to just head out to a jam night, etc. I have a close friend who is in the latter position. He is unable to just get up and go to things at the drop of a hat, so he's really struggling to come up with social media content, etc. It's a similar situation with me, as I'm currently between gigs. Who isn't in January? Lol. And both me and my friend are at a bit of a loss as to what to post. We're both quite nervous about doing too many covers, for instance, and that becoming stale for people to see. Also, my friend is particularly concerned about looking like a bedroom performer, i.e. he doesn't want to look like some sad wannabe musician who's just playing covers in his bedroom. He doesn't think this will be a good impression and therefore lead to much work. Hope this makes sense and hope it doesn't sound too harsh. We wrote this email together, so it's just as much from him as it is from me. Okay, first of all, I don't read that as being harsh. I don't know whether that says more about me than it does about you, but I hope you're not being harsh on yourself. This is something that I've become acutely aware of over the past few days, not just with myself, but noticing people being very harsh on themselves. So I have thoughts. I always have thoughts, let's face it. And firstly, I think you wrote this in at the beginning of January, so I apologise, because it's now the middle of February. So I hope that gigs have picked up for both of you. But let me tell you, historically, January, February, dead as a doornail when it comes to gigs. I believe there's a reason that shows like the NAMM show happen in January. It's because everyone's around. No one's working. So you seem to already know that, which is fantastic. And, that doesn't come as a great shock to you, which is fine. And I'm hoping that you have accounted for that, should we say, in your work throughout the year, that January is going to be a bit hard. So, in terms of monetary, at least, you're saving up to buffer a dry January, and not in the drinking sense necessarily, or maybe in the drinking sense also. It's definitely cheaper if you're not drinking. Let's not go down that tangent. That's a random one. But yeah, look, historically, January is actually not this year, but that's because I've got this degree that I'm focusing on, so I'm full on. But January was always like the panic month of like, there's nothing in the diary, there's nothing on the horizon. Is this it? Is this the end for me? This is the end of my career, every year without fail. And I would panic. And the way that I have dealt with this, arguably continue to deal with this, is I see January as a time to create and also to connect with people. I know that you are specifically talking about social media, so I will go with that and then move on to the latter later in the episode. So for me, when it comes to, let's call it online presence, because January was always about, I had this really bad habit of January when I would freak out and feel out of control. My first port of call was always to redesign my website. Always was. It would be like an intense sort of like 48 hours where I just want to revamp the whole thing and change the whole concept, and it just be tunnel vision and extreme focus. Very unhealthy, incredibly unhealthy, but I am who I am. And so that would be my January. And by doing that, I felt that I was moving things forward. But in reality, no, it wasn't the case, I don't think. I think maybe to a small degree, but certainly not to the amount of stress and pressure I put on myself. So 1 out of 5 stars, not 0, but 1 out of 5 stars would not recommend. Now, I think it's a very good time to have that space to take stock of things like social media profiles, for instance. And just, I know it's very difficult to objectively step back from your own social media to understand what's lacking. Funnily enough, I had this call the other day with a potential new client, who I think is going to be a new client, which is great. And we were looking at their social media and in particular their bio. And the bio was a little bit kind of, I want to use the word, not fluffy, but not very direct, basically. And they were saying to me, look, I look at other people's profiles, I look at their bios, and it's really punchy and it's really on it and it's really direct and blah, 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 blah. And I just don't know how to do that for myself. And I sort of said to them, well, first of all, just literally say what you are. In this case, it was like drummer, touring and recording session drummer. I said, well, you can start with that. And they looked at me like this huge light bulb had gone off. And it's just like, I think we're so busy trying to be clever and trying to be different and trying to stand out that we forget to just cover the basics of like, no, like, who are you? What do you do? And also, where do you live? Because this person hadn't put their location on their bio. And I was saying to them, look, how are people going to hire you when they don't know where you are? For all they know, you could be in, you know, the middle of nowhere in I don't know. I was going to say a random country, and I thought it's only going to be offensive to people from that country. So I'm not going to say that. But, you know, you don't know where this person is. Let's say there's an artist in London and you also live in London, but they don't know that. And they assume there's no, you know, there's so many countries in this world. Why would they be in this place that I am unless they explicitly tell me? So it's things like that, like just having a moment to reflect and overhaul and just go, right, if you can, try and pretend like you're a brand new set of eyes coming to a profile and just looking at it in that way and just think, right, what is something that this is missing that you know, we all think that everyone knows everything about us. They don't. They know nothing. Think, if I came to this profile and I knew nothing about this person, how am I perceiving this person? Like I say, very difficult. Sometimes it's actually good if a friend does it. So in this case, obviously there's 2 of you that have written in here. So maybe you look at each other's and just try to objectively look and go, right, if I didn't know you, what is missing from here? If I was a complete stranger, what would I want to know about you as a musician, as a person? Like I say, location is a big one that people really, really miss. That is it's not basic, but it is very important, incredibly important. So I would say that. Unless, of course, you're purely doing the remote recording thing, then it's not as important. But these people are saying they want to be out there playing live. So I would absolutely put your location just to help. Just to, like I always say, make it easy for people to book you. Tell them what you do, tell them where you are. Simple. And then you actually show them who you are and what you do on your actual feed. So I think that is a good starting point. I'd say, like I said, January for me, I think should be about creation. I think that, it is a time that you have that space to create content, maybe try things, try something different and see what happens. We're all creative beings at the end of the day. And for me, I think the first thing that I would definitely look at, and again, I did try to look these people up on social media. I could not find them for various reasons. Like I say, they want to stay anonymous. I think it's a made up name that they gave me. But I'd say the first port of call past the bio is, do you have a show reel? I know that I harp on about this, but honestly, I swear to you, it's the quickest way to show people who you are in the way that you want to be seen. That way you don't need to rely on the last thing that you posted to be a good representation of who you are, because that is a dangerous trap, and it makes there's a lot of pressure that comes with that for yourself in terms of like, is this good enough? I think a lot of us, I'm almost certain that all of us, but the majority have major perfectionist tendencies. I know I do. And I think that if you go into every piece of content that you're trying to create with that idea of, this is the most important piece because, it's the first thing that people are going to see, so therefore it has to be great every time you're posting, that is exhausting. So why not in January? I know it's February, but put that time into creating a show reel. That it doesn't need to be perfect. Let me just say that straight off the bat. It's never going to be perfect. Nothing I've ever done is perfect. That's okay. It is human. That's fine. People have still booked me. Don't worry. Perfect isn't cool. It's actually very boring. Nobody wants perfect. People want grit. They want edges. Don't do perfect. Boring. So I'd say, if you don't have a show reel, certainly focus on doing that. And what that could be is a montage of showing your playing over the years. It doesn't need to be in the last 12 months. It can be literally in the last 10 years. My show reel, I believe, in fact, my show reel only goes up to like 7 years ago. I have not updated it, but it starts from like, what's the earliest video on that? Maybe 2012? Yeah, it must be just after I cut my hair. So maybe 2011. But yeah, so that's my montage. And look, is it perfect? No. But does it do the job in showing what I do? Absolutely. Has it gotten me work? Absolutely. So I think that's a really good use of your time when, as I say, January's tough, man. January's rough as anything. So please give yourself some grace on that part of things as well. Even though we're in February, let's pretend that we're January. Beginning of the year, generally, beginning of the year, rough. So I would say that. Also, with regards to posting on your Instagram, say, on your social media, I would say, okay, this is my observation, and I might be wrong. Maybe you disagree. That's fine. I'm all here for it. Or I'm here for it, rather. Here for all of it. That's what I'm trying to say. But in my experience, and I always say to people, right, think about your experience when you're, for instance, scrolling through Instagram. I know TikTok's the same. It's been like that for a long time now, where when you open up the app and you start to scroll through your feed of other people's posts, very rarely do you get people that you actually know. You do, but it's not the majority. The majority are algorithmic posts that have been given to you based on your previous viewing, things that you've liked, things that you've commented on, whatever else. And therefore, the feed side of things is a little less high stakes, I think. I think it's cool when people visit your profile and they want to get a sense of you, fine. But in terms of day-to-day exposure, I think that's really diminished over the past, I'd probably say year. I don't actually know now that I'm thinking about it. I'm going to say a year, but I'm really only saying that for the sake of it. Let me be completely clear. I'm just making up a number. The last 12 months. But I'll tell you something that does not or has not changed and become more important to me, at least, and that is stories. I've mentioned this before fairly recently on the podcast. You know, when you post a story and, as I say, think about your experience. When you see someone that you know whose story is up the top there, there's their name, they're on your mind, even if it's subconsciously. And you may click on that story to see what they've been up to, you may not. But the point is, their picture is there, their name is there. You want to be that person so that if someone is doom scrolling because they are trying to find, say, a drummer, and they're just like, oh my God, I just need a break from trying to work out this problem right now of trying to find a drummer. They go onto Instagram, they log on, they start to scroll, but oh, look, there's the stories. There's Emily. Actually, she'd be really good for this. Oh, this is great. Let me get in touch with her. That's the logic behind it, from my perspective, at least. And I think that posting on your stories more consistently than your feed is actually going to give you a better return on your time right now, just from what I'm seeing on the social medias. On the socials. So I would also say, because I think for a very long time we've all been taught that, you know, you must post on your feed every day, there must be consistency. Now, yes, to a degree. I'm not sure about posting it every day anymore. I think a couple of times a week is more than sufficient. I'm not posting a couple of times a week. I should be, but I'm not currently because I'm really dropping the ball. But my priority is this podcast at the moment. So I kind of need to be at peace with that. So what I would say is treat your Instagram profile, your TikTok profile, your Facebook, if you're using that, or whatever else, whatever platform that you're using, as a rolling CV, which I've said before, but I will continue to say it. So rather than worrying about the sheer volume of posts that you're doing on your Instagram, say, think more about them being higher quality posts, but posted less often, I think. Like I say, because I think the majority of interactions where people see your feed posts is because they're coming to your profile. It's not because your videos are necessarily, or your photos or whatever, are necessarily coming up in people's feeds. They do, don't get me wrong. It's just not as much as I think that we think, if that makes sense. So I think that reframe hopefully will help take some pressure off you in terms of how often to post. And I think a shift towards posting on stories is definitely a good way of doing things. What I will also say is, on your feed, if you feel that there is enough video of you playing that represents you well, fine, tick, we'll move on. If there's not, I would absolutely focus on just getting a few videos of you playing that you are, I was going to say happy with. I don't think any of us are truly happy with what we post. Happy enough with, that you don't hate. That's kind of my threshold often. So I think focusing on that is also a good thing to do at the beginning of the year. If you are struggling, I know these two people were struggling with what to post in terms of they don't want to look like bedroom musicians, they don't want to just be posting covers. Dude, I totally get it. I think the focus should always be on who you're posting for, because I think it's very easy to slip into a trap of posting for posting's sake, for the clout. But look, if you don't have a lot of footage of you playing, putting up a couple of good sounding, well played covers is going to help your situation, not hinder. So I'd say do it for that reason. I did exactly that with a best of you video on YouTube. I didn't want to do it necessarily, but I knew that there was a bigger purpose to me. I had exactly the same mindset. Like, I don't want to be a covers drummer. I don't want people to think that's all that I do. And no one did. Like, that video has served me 100 times over, probably more, thousands of times over. And I think I got so in my head about how I was being perceived and judged, and it's a big thing of mine, that it stopped me from doing it at all. If you're already doing covers on your profile and there's stuff up there that you're happy with, great, fantastic, we move. But if not, I think that would be a very good port of call. Also, there's nothing wrong with posting videos from the past, the last 12 months, the last 24 months, the last 3, 4, 5 years. If they're not visible on your profile, if people have to scroll and there's some good content there that you have, some well shot footage, or just gigs that you were very happy with how they came out, or even just okay about, it doesn't even need to be happy, you know what I mean? Post it. Just say, came across this from 5 years ago, really enjoyed it. Tell me a story about it in the comments. I want to know. I want to know about you as a person. So I'd say that that's maybe a good sort of starting place in terms of feed stuff. Now, when it comes to stories, if you do want to shift over to the story side of things to keep top of mind in that top bar when people come onto Instagram or TikTok or whatever, or Facebook, to me, the rule is imperfect content works best. Very real, very raw stuff that is documenting what you're up to is fantastic, and just letting people into your personality, what your day-to-day looks like. And obviously there needs to be a strong onus on music and, you know, your instrument, what you're up to playing wise. Even if you're, let's say you're not playing any gigs, which it sounds like there's not many gigs in the diary for you right now. Let's say that you're just learning something random because you want to get better at it. You know, post a picture of a chart that you're writing and just say, really enjoying learning this song by Prince or whatever. Who knows? I say that because that's what I did one January. I decided I was going to learn the whole of Prince's back catalogue. Did I get through it? No, not even a little bit. I started it. I did not finish it. But, you know, it was something to do to create momentum for myself, improve my playing, improve my musical literacy and my repertoire more than anything, so that I was ready for if something came up. If Prince called, which he didn't, such a shame. I still miss him. Crazy, isn't it? Some that you don't even know. So yeah, I think that that could be a good thing to kind of focus on. And yeah, those story posts, I think if you can post something once a day, fantastic. And like I said, they don't need to be perfect. They can be more fluid. They can be more raw, more honest. Often what I say is write captions, write text on your actual pictures if you're posting pictures, so that you're explicitly telling people what you're doing, what you're up to, because it's very hard to tell sometimes, and it just makes it like, I don't know what you're up to, you're just posting a random, you know. The one that kills me the most is when people post pictures of gigs and it's like, are you at the gig? Are you on stage right now playing the gig? Because often you can't tell. Who is the gig? Where are you? What's going, like, it's just, there's so many questions and there's no answers, and it's just like, can we please explain what's happening right now? Like, just anything, just any context would be fantastic, please, because otherwise I'm just looking at a picture of 5 blurry kind of figures on a stage and a bunch of people in an audience in a dark room. I don't know what that means. But tell me, it comes back to that kind of being very blatant and blunt. It feels a bit weird at first, but once you remember that, you know, your audience they're not with you. They need to be told what's happening, because it's not always evident from a picture or a video, especially if you're trying to, you know, get hired by people. You want to be seen to be out there playing gigs all the time, or even going to see gigs. So yeah, I think that's kind of my feelings around social media specifically, since you asked about that at the beginning of the year, and sort of how to focus on that. What I'll also say as well, I know that there was a fear about, you know, especially your friend coming across as a bedroom musician, and I totally get that also. I would say to avoid that if you're really worried about it, which I get. Rent a studio for a day, you know, set up a couple of cameras or move a camera around to different parts of the room. record a few tracks, so then you've got a few things to put out there if you don't already have stuff online. Also, rent out a room and get some mates together and go and jam some songs or play some songs or whatever else you want. Like, because then everyone benefits from that in that room, because everyone's going through this. Remember, the majority of musicians are not on the road in January and February. Unless you're touring Australia, very unlikely. So, and they're often off doing, a lot of musicians are doing their own projects at that time of the year. Again, it's a creative time for musicians where you can make things. I remember one year as well, I felt I was in a very similar position to this, where I was like, I don't want to be known as a covers drummer. I think I'd done 3 covers videos at that point. I mean, looking back, that's nothing, but even so. And I was like, I don't want to do just straight covers. So I started off doing the Best of You video. I think the second video I did was a Skrillex tune, because I thought that was interesting and it was a little bit different. I'm sure I did a third. I don't remember what it is, but the fourth one that I did, or maybe it was the third one, I thought, no, I want to think outside the box here, because I can't bear just doing covers. There's nothing wrong with it, but for me personally, it's just not very fulfilling sometimes. So I instead did I created a mashup of different songs that reflected, I felt, who I was at the time, songs that I enjoyed. And then I cut in different videos of me when I was younger, mixed with me playing in the moment. I think there are electronics involved, I'm pretty certain. Yeah, in fact, I'm almost certain. I'm like 99%. In fact, you can look it up. It's called I Am. If you look up my name, Emily Dolan Davis, I Am. There's a video there, and that's what I created one January. That I was like, right, I need to create something. And I remember another January, I was doing loads of rehearsals with bands that weren't paying or anything like that. But I just recorded every rehearsal and did a little montage of all the different rehearsals that I was doing, like just with a random audio over the top. I think, yeah, I recorded, definitely. And again, do I use that? No, and it's rubbish, probably. I haven't actually watched it for a long time, and I'm pretty sure I unlisted it, but it was something to keep me creative and keep me, just having an outlet. It's very difficult when you're not informed as to what you should be doing as a freelance anything, quite honestly. It's the hardest part, I think, that no one talks about. This kind of, people say about, I'm procrastinating, I was really struggling, and it's like, yeah, because it's hard to self-motivate. It's hard to, like, not just create your own schedule, but to stick to it. It's so difficult. It's beyond difficult. It's for me, it's one of the hardest parts of all of this, still to this day. I think I'm finally getting the hang of it ish. She says after missing an episode last week. Do you know what I mean? Like, I still struggle with this massively, and I've been doing this for like a good couple of decades. Is it almost 3? It's almost 3 decades. How depressing. And I'm still struggling with it. So yeah, I would say that. Now, with all that being said, and focusing so much on social media, I don't know, I'm wildly speculating here because you haven't mentioned explicitly, and I am just going to read into this because I know that there's a few people that may be listening that are in the same headspace. Please, 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 do not substitute social media content and posts and all these things for actually going out and meeting people. For me, that is the prime time. January, February is prime time for connecting with other musicians because, as I said, everyone is off the road. Nobody is working, but people are, they have their own creative projects. So maybe get in touch with people, see if they need a musician for a random show that they're doing. It might not be paid. That's not the point. It's about expanding your network at this time of the year. It's, touching base with people. It's meeting up for coffees or drinks or dinner or lunch or just a phone call and a chat and a catch up. This is the time to do that 100%. And nothing, absolutely nothing beats being out there and just hanging out and meeting new people. So I'd say also, look up if there are any auditions. Auditions often happen in January, February, because again, everyone's around. So people audition now for work later in the year. So look up and see if there are any auditions going on. Get in touch with musical directors, get in touch with fixers. Go and look at all the dep notice boards, and so old, like the Facebook groups, Deps app, things like that. Get in touch with musicians that play the same instrument as you. Hey, just wanted to shout you and say if you needed for me a drummer for anything this year, let me know, I'm around. I'd love to depth you, help you out if you need it. All these sorts of things. And yes, it might feel a little bit gross, but we've all been there. We will all be there again, and it's fine. We're all in the same boat here. I think there's a real what's the word? I think there's honorability in transparency, and just be like, dude, I have no work right now, so if there's anything that comes up, can you let me know? Things like that. Or like I say, offering your services for free if you're doing remote recording. You know, my diary's a bit quiet at the moment, so if you need any drums recording on any of your tracks in January, let me know. I'd love to help you out. That sort of stuff. It's kind of, I always remember, this always stuck with me, and I think I've mentioned it once before on here, where I was chatting to a fixer, and he puts together a lot of bands in the UK, and we were hanging out at a gig, chatting away, blah, 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 blah. And it must have been January. And I said, oh, I bet you've had a lot of people get in touch, you know, January and all that. And he goes, oh yeah, usual sort of thing. He goes, the funniest thing to me, it's like, you know, they're reaching out going, can you do something for me? But no one ever says to me, is there anything I can do for you? And I thought, you know what? That is such a, of course, it seems so logical, but you're right. Like, if someone reached out and said, look, how can I help you? And how can you help me? You scratch my back, I scratch yours. Although I don't like that sort of term, because it's a bit, there's connotations with that I don't enjoy. But, you know, just rather than me, it's like, no, okay, what can I do for you too? I think there needs to be that give and take, and I think that's often overlooked. So in fact, I say this to people: if you have your own band, or if you want to start your own band, like a function band or whatever, reach out to musicians that you want to work with long term and offer them gigs, because those that are off the road still need work. So it's a great opportunity to actually connect. So I think that is also something that you can focus on at the beginning of the year, is kind of like, right, connect with people. Hey, if you want to start your own sort of function band, covers band, or whatever kind of band for a reason to reach out to people, do it. Like, why not? There's no rules here. I think this is the thing. I think people think that there are strict rules about how you do this. There's really not. And the older I get, the more that I realize that that is the case for the majority of things. Like, even like big established companies that you'd think, oh, like, obviously you really, like, you know what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. No, they don't. No, they don't. It's frightening, actually. From what I've learned recently, I'm like, oh, okay, in that case, I'm definitely going to try things, because if they can try things, I can try things. I may not have the budget, but I do have the gumption. So, yeah, I think that not focusing too heavily on the social media side of things, and not substituting it for real life interaction, in-person interactions, is very important. I think other things, like if you wanted to upgrade your skill set in something, January, February is always a good time for like short courses if something you wanted to learn. I also wanted to say that the friend who can't just up sticks and go and do gigs last minute, or, you know, at the drop of a hat, as they said, I totally get that too. And I would just say, know that about yourself and plan. Because I think that I worry, and again, this is me wildly speculating, that they might be using that as an excuse. Oh, because I can't do things at the drop of a hat, I'm just not going to do anything. Well, no, if you know that about yourself, then go plan some things, right? I know in 3 weeks' time, I'm going to book off this evening to go to this gig where these people are that I want to go and hang out with and meet and hopefully make some new friends. Great. But just don't use that as an excuse. We all have limitations. We all do, in various ways. No person is the same. We all have a unique set of skills to bring to the table, as well as limitations to work within, as well as personality traits that some people are going to enjoy, other people aren't. Musical ability, genres that we excel in and others that we don't. And we're all so unique, but you have to get out there and meet other people to find your people, basically, and what complements your playing style, personality, all these things. But like I say, nothing, and again, that does come back to showing yourself on social media and showing your personality, rather than just thinking that you're a nameless, faceless session musician that's up the back that no one cares about. In theory, yeah, that was my theory too. It's not about that. It's about musicians finding people that they get on with, that they want to spend extensive amounts of time on the road with, and sitting in dressing rooms for hours, staring at the walls, what feels like staring at the walls, and just hanging out and chatting and having a nice time. The playing is incidental. To a point, we can all do the gig. Like, that's often a given, like 90% of the time. It's more about, what is your vibe? Are you chilled? Are you anxious? Are you a bit negative? Are you too positive? I think that's my issue. I come across like that sometimes. Yeah, so I think those are my thoughts on it. I'm just going to check that I haven't missed anything here. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. That's all I have to say right now. So I hope that has helped you in some way. Anonymous pair. But yeah, I thank you. Thank you for this question, because it is something that I don't think I've explicitly spoken about in such a direct way in terms of like the beginning of the year. It's the hardest time of the year, and you're just past Christmas, which means that, or in the holiday period, depending on if you celebrate, what you celebrate. Often, you don't have a lot of money, and it's like, oh my goodness, the world is over. That's what I always felt like in January, or often. It is hard. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's easy. It's difficult. It really, really is. So you're not alone there. I know that, whoever you are that asked this question, or sorry, these two people that asked this question, I can guarantee you there are a very large amount of people listening that are going, yep, January's a nightmare. I just had such an annoying January, or I'm still in that right now where I'm struggling. I feel lost. I feel directionless, all those things. It is part of it. It is normal. It is it's those moments. If you can weather them, they're the most telling ones. It's easy to be, when things are going right, it's not easy to be a musician, but when you've got work, it helps. It really helps. But these are the moments that give you that grit, that staying power, because, this is so volatile, this industry. It really is. So if you can learn to harness that time. Also, I should have said this also, please rest during January and February. Allow yourself to rest. And I'm kind of telling myself that as well. And certainly my past self, I didn't let myself rest at all. I punished myself for not having work. I don't recommend that. Please rest. Don't kill yourself. Please, please, please be kind to yourself. Be compassionate as you can. It's okay. This is part of it, but don't kill yourself over it. Things will move. Time will pass. Just do what you can. And things often unfold in ways that you wouldn't be able to anticipate anyway. So take a breath. Emily, take a breath and end the episode, because everyone's sick of hearing your voice. Okay, right. I'm going to leave you on that note. Thank you again, Anonymous, for that question. If you yourself are listening right now and thinking, I have a really specific thing right now that I'm struggling with, please do reach out. Go to emilydrums.com/AMA. If you want to go into as much detail as you can, then please do, just so that I can do the best I can with offering some sort of insight, I hope. You can stay anonymous like these people, or you can give me your name. I will shout you out 100%. I'd love to, in fact. So reach out to me, emilydrums.com/AMA. If you, like, share, subscribe. you know the drill. If you want to write a review as well, that would be rather wonderful, because then this would get out to even more people, which would be very enjoyable. Well, just not even enjoyable, just nice to know that it's reaching more people, and hopefully helping, I hope, or at least entertaining whilst I ramble on. Okay, so and if you would like to reach out for some personalized one-on-one coaching, I offer a free 30-minute session. If you go to emilydrums.com, you can book in for that there. It's 30 minutes, funnily enough. We will just sit down and chat over Zoom about where you're at, where you want to be, and then I will tell you any things that come to mind that I feel that could help you move in that direction, essentially. And then also talk to you about if you wanted to do more coaching moving forward in a more official capacity. But yeah, if that sounds interesting to you, go to emilydrums.com. You can book in there for your free taster coaching session. Anyway, I will love you and leave you on that note. I hope that you're having a wonderful day wherever you are, whatever you're up to. And yes, I will be back, all things being well, I will be back next week with another episode if my life doesn't go crazy again, which it should be fine next week, I think. We'll see. But yeah, anyway, sending you lots of love, and thank you again to Anonymous for your message. And I guess, yeah, I will speak to you soon. All right. Bye.
It's almost time to